Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello everyone. First, let us introduce ourselves. I'm Naila and Oktaviani, and my student ID is 12350303110.
And hello, my name is Nabila Githa Fasya, and my student ID is 12350303100. So today in this video, we will give you some advice to do a TOEFL listening test easier. Yeah, let's just get to the video. So, skill one is focus on the last line. The short dialogues involve conversations between two people, each followed by a question. It is important to understand that the answer to this type of question is most often, but not always, found in the last line of the conversation. So let's get to the exercise. Here, there are some exercise. We will play the audio.
Number 1.
How soon will you be leaving?
I'm on my way now. What does the man mean?
So here, he say he is leaving now. The answer is A. Next to the skill 2. Skill 2 is choose answers with synonyms. Often the correct answer in a short dialogue is an answer that contains synonyms, a word with similar meanings but different sounds for keywords in the conversation. So let's just go to the TOEFL exercise 2.
Number 3. Has your family been in business for quite some time?
No, the family business was just established last year.
What does the woman say about the family business?
So the woman say that her family business is just established last year. We can see in the here the synonym is founded. Established and founded is a synonym. So and last year is a year ago. So the answer is the company was founded about a year ago. Now A. Let's get to the skill tree. Avoid similar sounds. Often the incorrect answers in the short dialogues are answers that contain words with similar sounds but very different meanings from what you hear on the recording. You should definitely avoid these answers. So let's just get to the exercise, TOEFL exercise 3. Here, there's an example. The man say, "Why couldn't Mark come with us?" The woman say he was searching for a new apartment. What does the woman say about Mark? So, the man asking about Mark, and the woman say that Mark is searching for a new apartment. So, we can see here the best or the similar meaning is he was looking for a place to live because the apartment is not an apartment, and research is not a searching, and there is nothing about appointment and at crunch at the conversation from the man and the woman. So let's just get to the skill 4. Okay, so in skill 4,
TOEFL exercise 4.
draw conclusions about who, what, where. It is common in the short dialogues to ask you to draw some kind of conclusion in this type of question. The answer is not clearly stated. Instead, you must draw a conclusion based on clues given in the dialogue. One kind of conclusion that is common in this part of The test is to ask you to determine who the speaker is based on clues given in the dialogue. Okay, so for the TOEFL,
I didn't bring my laboratory manual today.
You can share mine. Today we're conducting the experiment on photosynthesis, and we can work together. Where does this conversation probably take place?
okay, so the question is where this conversation would take place. The man mentioned about photosynthesis and about some sample. It is most possible to be in a biology laboratory because it's impossible to talk about photosynthesis in photography studio, an office, or even in the library.
Now, let's move to the skill 5. Listen for who and what in passive. It is sometimes difficult to understand who or what is doing the action in passive sentence, and this problem is often tasked in the short dialects. The example is let's just go to the exercise. Let's just start the exercise number 3.
Number 2. Number 3. Mark said that you were a lot of help.
Well, I took care of his plans while he was out of town.
What does the woman mean?
So in the audio, we hear the woman take care of the Mark's plans. So the answer is A, because Mark's plans were cared for in his absence. Because in the audio, it says that the woman take care of Mark's plans, even Mark was absent. So the answer is A. So let's move to the skill 6. Listen for who and what with multiple nouns. When there is more than one noun in a sentence in the short dialects, it is common for the answer to confuse with noun which noun does what. So let's hear the audio from the exercise number 1.
TOEFL exercise 6. In this, what? Number 1. The passenger arrived in a taxi.
Yes, and then she had the taxi driver wait at the corner.
What does the woman mean?
So at the audio, we hear that the woman asked the taxi driver to wait at the corner. But in the textbooks, we see that all the answer mostly for A, B, and D said the passengers waited at the corner and look for a taxi, or the passenger cornered the waiting taxi. But in the audio, we hear that uh, the woman herself asked the taxi driver to wait at the corner. So the answer is C, because cab is a synonym for taxi. So the cab driver waited for the passengers. The taxi driver waited for the passengers at the corner. So the answer is C. Now let's move to the skill 7. Listen for negative expressions. Negative expressions are very common in the short dialects, and the most common kind of correct response to a negative statement, it is a positive statement containing a word with an opposite meaning. So let's hear the audio for exercise 7, number 1.
TOEFL exercise 7. Particularly careful of. Are you going to take out the trash?
I have no time to do it.
What does the woman mean?
In the audio, we hear that the man asked the woman when she would take out the trash, but the woman answered that she has no time for it. She has no time for it, so it means she is very busy. So Not she has lots of free time, or it is not necessary to take out the trash, or she will do it if she has time. But uh, it con- it just says that she has no time, so it means she is very busy. So the answer is A. Now, now let's move to the scale 8. Listen for double negative expressions. It is possible for two negative ideas to appear in one sentence, and the result can be quite confusing. There's an example for double negative. There is situations, a negative word, and the example is not, no, none, and the negative prefix is in, an, or this. The example is he didn't like the unclean office. So it means did not like the unclean office. So it means like clean office. Now move. Let's try the exercise number 1. In the audio, we hear the man said, "Paula, you work so hard setting up the field trip," and the woman said, I hope no one's unhappy with the arrangements." So, what does Paula mean? She said, I hope no one's unhappy. No one's unhappy. So it means she hopes everyone would be happy. Will you please is a synonym for happy, so the answer is A.
So now let's move to skill 9. Listen for almost negative expressions. Certain expressions in English have almost negative meanings. These expressions are common in the short dialogues. Um, Here, for example, common almost negative expressions. Uh, the expressions is for almost none is hardly, barely, scarcely, and only. And for almost never is rarely and seldom. Okay, let's go to the exercise 9. Here, the man say, I hear that Mona's been offered the manager's job. The woman say, but she has hardly any work experience. What does the woman say about Mona? So, uh, the man say that Mona would be get a new job to be a new managers, but the woman say that Mona has hardly any work experience. So that means Mona has just a little experience of work. Here we can see that number Mona hasn't worked hard. It's wrong because it didn't say anything about that in the conversation. Mona's experience has been hard. It's the hard here in the hardly is not talking about hard, but hardly is like here almost none, or like the time is really small. So the answer is D because Mona hasn't worked for very long because yeah because she has hardly any work experience. And let's move to skill 10. Listen for negatives with comparatives. Negatives can be used with comparatives in short dialogues of the TOEFL test. A sentence with a negative and a comparative has a superlative or very strong meaning. Here, the comparatives with negatives. The example is uh, for more is no one is more beautiful than she is. That means she is the most beautiful because there's no more beautiful person than her. And let's go to the exercise 10. The woman say, "Have you gotten over your cold yet?" The man answer, "I couldn't be feeling any better today." What does the man mean? So he said that I couldn't be feeling any better today. So he is feeling really good. That means he is feeling really good. So here he is feeling terrific. It's wrong because he said that he is feeling good. He felt a lot worse today. It's wrong too. He's not feeling too well today. For ABC, it's a kind of similar answer that say that the man still feel kind of sick, but the answer is he is feeling really good. So the answer is D. He is a bit better today. Next is skill 11. Listen for expressions of agreement. Expressions of agreement are common in the short dialogues, so you should become familiar with them. The following example shows agreement with a positive statement. So expression of agreement is the example like this. If the agreement with positive statements is like, "So do I," "Me too," "I'll say," "Isn't it?" You can say that again. For agreement with negative statement is "Neither do I," or "I don't either." Like it's the negative one. And for the exercise 11, number one, the woman say, "These paintings are really fascinating." The man says, "Aren't they?" Uh, the question is, what does the man mean? Okay, so the woman say that the painting is fascinating, and the man says, "Aren't they?" Then he's agree with the woman because like he's thinking the same as the woman. So he said that aren't they fascinating like that. So here, these paintings aren't very interesting. The answer is wrong because the man thinking that the paintings is fascinating too or interesting. He isn't fascinated by these paintings. It's wrong. He isn't sure how he feels. He's sure about his feel because he said that aren't they is like he agree with the woman. And the last one is he finds these paintings quite interesting. Uh, Interesting is the synonym for fascinating, so the answer is D. He finds these paintings quite interesting. Next, skill 12. Listen for expressions of uncertainty and suggestion. Expressions of uncertainty and suggestion are common in the short dialogues, so you should become familiar with them. The following example shows an expression of uncertainty. Here is the example. Uncertainty is isn't it? As far as I know, as far as I can tell. And for suggestion is "Why not?" or "Let's blah blah blah." And for the exercise 12, let's see number 2 here. The woman say, "I'm so thirsty from all this walking." The man answer, "Let's stop and get a drink." What does the man suggest? Because here the man used "let's," so it's a suggestion. So that the question is, what does the man suggest? Um, the answer A, they should stop drinking. It's wrong because the man clearly said that let's stop and get a drink. So the man means let's stop from walking and get some drink. So it means they still not drinking and want to drink. Uh, the B answer, they should go for a walk. It's wrong because the men say that let's stop walking. And C, they should walk 30 miles. It is wrong too. And the answer is D, they should take a break and have a drink. Like the men say, let's stop from walking and get a break. Let's get a drink first. So that means like stop from walking and get a drink.
So let's move to the skill 13. Listen for emphatic expressions of surprise. Emphatic expressions of surprise are common in the short dialects, so you should become familiar with them. When surprise is expressed, it implies that the speaker did not expect something to be true. So let's see the expression of emphatic surprise. For the verb be, the emphatic form is with emphasis. And the example is, then he is here. So the meaning is, I thought he was not here. So it can say the antonym of he is here is he was not here. Let's try the exercise 13, number 1. In the audio, we hear the man said, I just got 600 on the TOEFL test. And the woman said, then you did pass. So, what had the woman assumed? Um, the woman said, then you did pass. So, we can just search the antonym for did pass. And the answer is A, the man had not passed. For these skills, you just need to find the antonym for the assumptions of the woman or the in the audio. So the answer is A. The man had not passed. So the woman assumed that the man had not passed the TOEFL test. Let's move to the TOEFL exercise, the skill 14. Listen for wishes. Conversations about wishes can appear in the short dialogues. The important idea to remember about wishes is that a wish implies that the opposite of the wish is true. The opposite of the wish is true. So the key information about wishes is the point is an affirmative wish implies a negative reality. So the example is I wish I had time to help. So it means he or she has no time to help. So the example is on the recording you hear a woman said, it's too bad that you have to stay here and work during the school break. And the man said, I really wish I could go with you and the others to Palm Springs. What does the man mean? The man said, I really wish I could go. He wished he could go, so it means he was unable to go on the trip. So the answer is B. He is unable to go on a trip. In this dialogue, the man wished that he could go with the others on the trip. So the implied meaning is that he is unable to go. The correct answer is therefore answer B. He is unable to go on the trip. Now let's move to the skill 15. Listen for untrue conditions. Conversation containing conditions can appear in the short dialects. The important idea to remember about conditions is that a condition implies that the opposite of the conditions is true. The key informations about untrue conditions. The point is an affirmative condition implies a negative reality, or a negative condition implies an affirmative reality. So the example is if she were at home, she could do it. It means she is not at home. If she were at home, she could do it. So it means she is at home. Remember that were is used instead of was in untrue conditions. If I were there, I would have. This has the same meaning as if I had money. Note that the subject and head are inverted. So let's try the exercise number 1. The man said, "Are you going to have something to eat?" And the woman said, "If the food looked fresh, I would eat some." What does the woman mean? The woman said she would eat the food if it looked fresh. But here, the woman say that because it means the food doesn't look fresh, so she is not going to eat. So the answer is A. Now let's move to skill 16, idiom language. Listen for 2 and 3 part verbs. 2 and 3 part verbs appear in some questions in the short dialects. These verbs are expressions that include a verb and one or more particles, such as in, on, or at. The particle change the meaning of the verb. The questions involving 2 and 3 part verbs can be difficult for students because the additions of the particle change the meaning of the verb in an idiomatic way. So let's try the exercise number 1. The man said, "Did you have your history exam today?" And the woman said, "No, the professor put it off for another week." What does the woman say about the exams? She said, "No, the professor put it off for another week." Put it off is a synonym for delay or cancel, but put it off is a synonym for delay, so the answer is D. It was delayed.
Next, skill 17. Listen for idioms. Idioms appear in some questions in the short dialogues. Idioms are special expressions in a language that all speakers of the language know. These special expressions describe one situation in life, but are applied to many different areas of life. Idiom questions can be difficult for students because they seem to be describing one situation when they are really describing a different situation. Uh, let's see the example here. On the recording, you hear the man say Tom is a full-time student and is holding down a full-time job. The woman say he is really burning the candle at both ends. What does the woman say about Tom? So you can hear this sentence: burning candle at both ends it is an idiom. Uh, it is an idiom for doing too much. So the answer is C, he is doing too much. Because here in the answer A, he's lighting a candle. Because this is an idiom, so it's not a real meaning. So it's she is not talking about really burning a candle, but she is talking about the idiom. And here's B, he's holding the candle. It is same as the A answer. The answer is talking about a real candle, and the answer work as a firefighter. It is not relevant with the conversation. So the answer is C. He's doing too much. Let's move to the exercise 18, skill 18. Okay. Okay, let's move to skill 18. Anticipate the topics. It is very helpful to your overall comprehension if you know what topics to expect in the long conversations. So here from skill 18, we are going to be in a long conversation. Before this, the skill 1 to 17 is a short conversation. So here, we need to anticipate or expect the what is going to be in the long conversations. You should therefore try to anticipate the topics you will be hearing. For example, are the conversations about some aspect of school life, or some type of social issue, or a trip someone is planning. A helpful strategy is therefore to look briefly at the answers in the test book before you actually hear the conversations on the recording, and try to determine the topics of the conversations that you will hear. Let's see in the exercise 18 here. Uh, um, okay, so here, a long conversation usually will take for 5 to 7 questions. So you will hear the conversation first, and then you will guess the answer for 1 to 5 questions. So you need to expect the topic will be on the conversation from the questions here, like here, find work on campus. You can guess this is a conversation about work on campus. So the topic will be around the work and campus, and then work in the employment office, help students find jobs. And as the woman questions, it is the answer is as the woman questions is the farthest meaning from other answers. So we can imply that uh, ABC it is maybe the answer. So we can imply that work, campus, employment, students, and jobs. So we can expect that the topic of the conversation would be like a student at the campus searching for work or jobs in the employment office, and we can expect the topic for other questions later. Let's get to the skill 19. Anticipate the questions. It is very helpful to your ability to answer individual questions with the long conversations. If you can anticipate what the questions will be and listen specifically for the answer to those questions. Okay, so here we have some example. In your test book, you read the answer is A in the airport, B in the library, C in the dormitory, D in the travel agent's office. You try to anticipate the question. Where does the conversation probably take place? Because the answer is about the places, so the questions is probably questioning about the place the conversation take. Like this in exercise 19, the answer is find work on campus, work in the employment office helps students find jobs, ask the woman questions. So it is probably the question is what does someone want to do? Because uh, here in the answer is something is someone doing something. So the probable question is what does someone want to do? Next, skill 20, determine the topic. As you listen to each long conversation, you should be thinking about the topic or subject or main idea for each conversation. Since the first one or two sentences generally give the topic, you should be asking yourself what the topic is while you are listening carefully to the first part of the conversation. Here is the example from the paper. From the TOEFL paper. On the recording, you hear the man say, "You can't believe what I just got. I bet you got that new car you've always wanted," the woman says. And the man says, "Now, how in the world did you figure that out?" And you think the topic of the conversation is the new car that the man just got. So, because here the man says that in the first dialogue, the man didn't say anything, but the second one, the woman say that the man is get a new car, and the man answer that, uh, "How in the world did you figure that out?" So it means that the woman answer is right. So the topic is about the man new car.
Okay, so now let's move to the skill 21. Draw conclusions about who, what, when, and where. As you listen to each long conversations, you should be trying to set the situations in your mind. You should be thinking with the following thoughts like who is talking, when does the conversation probably take place, where does the conversation probably take place, what is the source of information for the conversations. The example is from the paper TOEFL test. On the recording, you hear a man say, "Why do you have so many books?" And the woman said, "I need them for my paper on George Washington. Do you know how I can check them out?" And the man said, "Yes, you should go downstairs to the circulation desk and fill out a card for each book." You probably think, who is probably talking? Two students. Where are they? In the library. And what course are they discussing? Is American history. So now, let's move to the skill 22. Listen for answer in order. There are two possible methods to use while you listen to a long conversation. You can just listen to the conversation and ignore the answer, or you can follow along with the answer while you listen. Some students prefer to just listen to the conversations while it is being spoken, and if that method works well for you, then that is what you should do. Other students find that they can answer more questions correctly if they read along with the answer while the conversation is being spoken. Because the detailed questions are answered in order, it is possible to read along while you listen to the conversation on the recording. The example is on the recording you hear, "Can I help you? I'm interested in opening an account." Well, we have several different types of accounts: checking accounts, saving accounts, money market accounts, time deposit accounts. And the woman said, "It is a checking account that I am interested in." So the man said, "I can help you with that. First, you have to fill out a form, and then I need to see some identifications. That's about all there is to it." And the woman said, "That sounds easy enough. Thanks for your help." On the recording, you hear, what type of accounts does the woman want? And what does the man need for her to show him? Uh, in the textbook, you can see the options. A is a checking account. Before that, the woman said, it's a checking account that I am interested. So the answer is a checking account. When you read the answers to the first questions, you can anticipate that the first question is what type of account. As you listen, you determine that the woman wants a checking account. Therefore, you can anticipate that the best answer to the first question is A. So now let's move to the skill 23. We just got into long talks. Skill 23 is anticipate the topics. It is very helpful to you to your overall comprehension if you know what topics to expect in the long talks. You should therefore try to anticipate the topics that you will be hearing as you did with the long conversation. For example, are the talks about American history or literature or some aspect of school life. A helpful strategy is therefore to look briefly at the answer in the textbook before you actually hear the talks on the recording and try to determine the topics of the talks that you will hear. So, for the exercise, the questions 1 to 5 is a long conversation. So, first you must tell what is the topic of the talk for question 1 through 5. After you hear the conversation, you might guess that the topic is the requirements of a biology class. So you can guess this because of the following clues like biology, first day of class, reading assignments and exams, and also there is lab work. Now let's move to skill 24. Anticipate the questions. It is very helpful to your ability to answer individual questions with the long talks if you can anticipate what the questions will be and listen specifically for the answer to those questions, as you did with the long conversation. So in your textbook, you can read the options for A to B is, and the options A is for 3 weeks, for 3 days, for 3 months, and for 3 hours. You can try to anticipate the questions. How long does something last? In this example, you can be quite certain that one of the questions will be about how long something lasts. Since you are sure that this is one of the questions, you can listen carefully for clues that will give you the answers. This example shows that a helpful strategy in therefore to look briefly at the answers in the textbook before you actually hear the talks on the recording and try to determine the questions that you will be asked to answer. So the example is the questions 1 is when does the talk probably take place? Because the options is during a biology laboratory sessions in a biology study group on the first day of class and just before the final exam. So the questions is when does the talk probably take place?
Okay, let's go to the next skill is skill 25, determine the topic. As you listen to each long talk, you should be thinking about the topic, subject, or main idea for the talk, as you did with the long conversations. Since the first sentence is generally a topic sentence, you should be asking yourself what the topic is while you are listening carefully to the first part of the talk. Example from the paper TOEFL here. On the recording, you can hear the man say that the major earthquake that occurred east of Los Angeles in 1971 is still affecting the economy of the area today. You think the topic of the talk is the effect of the 1971 earthquake on Los Angeles today. And uh, let's go to skill 26. Draw conclusions about how, what, when, where. As you listen to each talk, you should be trying to set the situation in your mind as you did with the long conversations. You should be thinking the following thoughts. Who is talking? When does the talk probably take place? Where does the talk probably take place? What course is the talk concerned with? What is the source of information for the talk? Here is the example from the paper TOEFL. On the recording, you hear the woman say that the next stop on our tour of Atlanta will be the original home of Coca-Cola at 107 Marietta Street. Coca-Cola was manufactured at this location until early in September of 1888. You think who is probably talking? Here, maybe the one who's talking is a tour guide because it's like a tour. So the guide is talking about the place of Coca-Cola. Where are they? In Atlanta. Here he said she said that on our tour of Atlanta. When does the talk take place? In the middle of a tour, because here the woman still talking about the Coca-Cola place, and yeah, it is in the middle of a tour. Skill 27. Listen for answers in order. There are two possible methods to use while you listen to the talks. First, you can just listen to the talk and ignore the answers. And the second one is you can follow along with the answers while you listen. Some students prefer to just listen to the talk while it is being spoken. And if that method works well for you, then that is what you should do. Other students find that they can answer more questions correctly if they read along with the answers while the talk is being given. Because the detailed questions are answered in order, it is possible to read along while you listen to the talk on the recording. So here is the example from the paper. Okay, on the recording, you hear the Great Chicago Fire began on October 8, 1871, and according to legend, began when a cow knocked over a lantern in Mrs. O'Leary's barn. No matter how it began, it was a disastrous fire. The preceding summer had been exceedingly dry in the Chicago area, and the extreme dryness, accompanied by Chicago's infamous winds, created an inferno that destroyed 18,000 buildings and killed more than 300 people before it was extinguished the, the following day. And then the narrator, on the recording, the narrator firstly question about, according to legend, where did the Great Chicago Fire begin? And the second question is, which of the following is not true about the Great Chicago Fire? In your textbook, you read maybe at the same time, or if you want to hear it first, you can hear it the recording first, and then you can read the answers in the textbook. So here, the first question. Uh, According to legend, where did the Great Chicago Fire begin? Uh, you can see you can hear the answer in the recording. Here in a barn in Mrs. O'Leary's home, in a in a cow pasture, and or in a lantern factory. Here in the recording, you can see that uh, according to legend, began when a cock knocked over a lantern in Miss O'Leary's barn. So it is in a barn, or yeah, in a barn, because it's not in Mrs. O'Leary's home, but it's in her barn. So it is in a barn. And for the question number two, you can hear it in the recording too. Next to the skill 28. And now we are in casual conversations. So for skill 28, understand casual conversations. As you listen to each casual conversation in part B of the computer TOEFL test, you should be thinking about the overall ideas and the supporting details in the casual conversation. Questions that accompany casual conversations most commonly test the overall ideas of the conversation, like what are the men and women discussing and what do they finally decide to do? Or what is the woman's problem and what does the man suggest? Mm. But they may also test supporting details from the passage, like what time will they leave or how many assignments or are there, and it is unusual for the questions that accompany a casual conversation to depend on the meaning of a specific vocabulary word or idiom or grammatical structure, as the questions that accompany the short dialogues often do. Here is the TOEFL exercise 28. Look at the picture as you listen to each casual conversation. Do not look at the questions or answer choices until the conversation is complete. On the computer TOEFL test, you will not be able to see the questions or answers choices during the conversation. So, in the test, you will be just given the picture, and you would listening to the long conversation, and you should take a lot of information from the conversation and the picture, and you need to uh, make a guess about what is the conversation is about from the picture and the conversation. And then after we complete the conversation and done for looking at the picture, we can see the question like here. The exercise is where is the man going? And there is the answer to listen to a concert, to give a performance, to attend a class, or to take part in a practice. You would hear it in the conversation in the recording, the answer, and you can, if you forget, maybe you can search for a hint in the picture. And for a long conversation, you need to remember the conversation and the picture first, and then you would answer some questions from what you hear and what you already looked before.
So we're going through academic discussions. So we're going through academic discussions. Academic discussions appear in part B of the listening sections of the computer TOEFL test. And for each of the academic discussions in this part of the test, you will see a series of context setting and content visual as you listen to 120 to 150 seconds discussions by 2 to 5 speakers. After you see the visuals and listen to the discussions, you will hear a series of questions as you see each question and its answer choices on the computer screen. You must click on the best answer choice to each questions on the computer screen. A variety of types questions are possible in this part of the task. Some of these types of questions may follow discussions about multiple choice questions with one correct answer, multiple choice questions with two correct answers, and graphic questions with four letters, and questions with four graphics, and there's matching questions, and the last one is ordering questions. So the example from the computer TOEFL as you see the computer screen and you hear in the audio the narrator said, listen to discussions in the botany class, and the discussion is on the cacao tree. Today we're going to talk about the cacao tree and some of the products we get from this tree. Just what products do we get from the cacao tree, Joe? The products we get from the cacao tree are some of my favorites, cocoa and chocolate. And where are the cacao trees found, Alan? Cacao trees are native to the coastal areas of Mexico, Central America, and South America. Today, in addition to Mexico, Central, and South America, cacao trees are also found along the west coast of Africa and on a number of tropical islands. Yes, it's true that cacao trees are found in coastal areas of Central and South America as well as in Africa. Let's look at this cacao tree. Can you describe the cacao tree for me, Taylor? You can see that the cacao tree has long, thick, shiny leaves. It's a type of evergreen tree. What does it mean that it's an evergreen tree? An evergreen is any plant that keeps its leaves throughout the year, and many people think that the only pines and firs are evergreens, but in reality, many plants with broad leaves are evergreens. Plants with thin, narrow leaves are generally not evergreen. And what about the fruit of the cacao tree, Joe? The fruit of the cacao tree is the size of large cucumber and can be a variety of colors depending on the type of the tree. So in this audio, after the discussions is complete, the first questions and the answer choices appear on the computer screen as the narrator states the questions. This question is a multiply choice questions with one correct answers that ask about the locations. You see, and in the computer screen is where is the cacao tree? Probably not found, and the options is in Europe, in Central America, or in South America, and in Africa. In these discussions, Alan states the cacao trees are native to the coastal areas of Mexico, Central America, and South America, and that the cacao trees are also found along the west coast of Africa. From this, it can be determined that the cacao tree is found in all the locations listed in the answer except Europe. So the first answer is the best answer to these questions. You should click on the first answer to these questions. So now let's move to the skill 29. Recognize the organization. As you listen to each academic discussions in part B of the computer TOEFL test, you should be thinking about the organizations of the passage because questions about the organizations of the passage quite commonly accompany the academic discussions. The type of questions that the test the organizations of the passage are matching questions and ordering questions. Matching questions are used to test your understanding of the organizations of a classification passage that discuss the various types of categories of a given topic. Ordering questions are used to test your understanding of the organizations of a process or chronological passage that discuss either how something is accomplished or a series of historical events, and look at an examples of part of discussions with a classification organizations follow by matching questions. So the example is on the computer, you would hear the narrator said, listen to a part of a discussions by students taking a geology class. The discussions is on types of rocks. The man said, for the quiz today, we need to understand what the various types of rocks are. Yes, the main categories of rocks are igneous, sedimentary, and metamorphic. I think I understand igneous rocks. Igneous rocks are rocks that are formed from extremely hot magma, but what are the other two types of rocks? Sedimentary rocks consist of older rocks and once living material, and these materials are compounded into rocks with layers or strata and become sedimentary rocks. Now, for the third kind of rocks, which are metamorphic rocks. Metamorphic rocks are rocks that were originally igneous or sedimentary but were transformed by intense heat or pressure. So you would think that this passage classifies various of rocks. So you would see the questions is what is the key characteristic of each of these types of rocks? Igneous rocks, sedimentary rocks, or metamorphic rocks. Igneous rocks is formed in layer, and sedimentary rocks were transformed by heat or pressure, and metamorphic rocks is formed from burning magma. In the discussion, the students state the igneous rock from extremely hot magma, that sedimentary rocks are rocks with layers or strata, and that the metamorphic rocks were transferred by intense heat or pressure. From this, it can be determined that igneous rocks form from burning magma, that sedimentary rocks form in layers, and that metamorphic rocks were transformed by heat or pressure. Now let's move to the skill 30. Skill 30, listen for direct and indirect details. As you listen to each academic discussions in part B of the computer TOEFL test, you should focus on the details from the passage and indirect informations that can be inferred from these details. Because questions about direct and indirect details quite commonly accompany the academic discussions. Multiply choice questions are used to test direct and indirect details, and these multiply choice questions may have one correct answer or two correct answers. Look at an example of a part of an academic discussions, followed by a multiple choice questions but about a direct detail, and these questions have one correct answer. On the computer, you hear a narrator say, listen to a part of a discussions by a group of students taking an astronomy class, and the discussions is on our galaxy. The man said, and how large is our galaxy? Do you know? And the woman said, I believe the text said that our galaxy has a radius of 3,500 light years. Then that would be a diameter of 7,000 light years. And where is our position in the galaxy? Our sun is orbiting at an average distance of 2,900 light years from the center of the galaxy. So you would think this passage give direct and indirect details about our sun and our galaxy. So in these discussions, the speakers state that our galaxy has a radius of 3,500 light years, which is a diameter of 7,000 light years. This means that our galaxy is 70,000 light years wide. So the last answer is the best answer to these questions. Now let's move to the skill 31 is visualize the passage. As you listen to each academic discussion and part B of the computer TOEFL test, you should try to visualize what you hear in the passage, because visual questions about what is being described in the passage quite commonly accompany the academic discussions. There are two types of visual questions that may accompany an academic discussions. One type of visual question shows you four drawings and asks you to click on the one drawing of the four that answer questions. The other type of visual question shows you one drawing with four letters on it and asks you to click on the one letter of the four that answer questions. Look at an example for a part of the discussions and visual questions with four drawings. On the on the computer, you would hear narrators say, listen to a part of a discussion in a botany class. The discussion is on a type of flower called a calendula. The next type of flower that we need to discuss is the calendula. The calendula, I've never heard of that. What does it look like? It's a very common kind of garden flower in the United States. You've probably seen lots of them, and the calendula has yellow or orange petals, and the petals grow in 6 to 10 concentric circles around its center. From this passage, you would think that this passage describes something that I should try to visualize. You would see the question is which of the following flower is most likely like a calendula. So the pictures are here. In the discussions, the main state that the calendula has yellow or orange petals, and the petals grow in 6 to 10 concentric circles around its center. So the answer is C, with petals is in concentric circles around the center, is therefore the best answer to this question. Now, skill 32. So we're going through the academic lectures. Academic lecture appear in part B of the listening sections of the computer TOEFL test, and for each of the academic lectures in this part of the test, you will see a series of context setting and context visual as you listen. So here are the skill 32, recognize the organization. As you listen to each academic lecture in part B of the computer TOEFL test, you should be thinking about the organization of the passage because questions about the organization of the passage quite commonly accompany the academic lectures. The type of questions that test the organization of the passage are matching questions and ordering questions. So the example is on the computer, you would hear a narrator say, listen to a part of a lecture in a health class. The professor is talking about burns. And the professor said, today I'll be talking about different kinds of burns. First degree burns are characterized by some redness to the surface of the skin as well as pain and swelling. In the second degree burns, the upper layers of skin are reddish and damaged, and there is evidence of loss of body fluids. In the third degree burns, the skin is whitish or carrot, and there is damage to tissues beneath the skin. So this passage, you probably think this passage classifies information about various types of burns. So you would see a question like what characterize each of these types of burns. So in the lecture, the professor states that the first degrees burn are characterized by pain and swelling, and that in the second degree burns, the upper layer of skin reddish and damage, and in third degrees burns, there is damage to tissues beneath the skin. From this, it can be determined that the tissue damage beneath the skin occurs in third degree burns. Pain and swelling occur in the first degree burns.
So now, skill 33, listen for direct and indirect details. As you listen to each academic discussion in Part B of the computer TOEFL test, you should focus on the details from the passage and indirect information that can be inferred from these details because questions about direct and indirect details quite commonly accompany the academic lectures. Multiple choice questions are used to test direct and indirect details, and these multiple choice questions may have one correct answer or two correct answers. Look at an example of a part of an academic lecture followed by a multiple choice question about a direct detail. This question has one correct answer. Here, the example from the computer TOEFL test. On the computer, you hear narrators say that listen to a part of a lecture in an astronomy class. The lecture is on Halley's Comet. Professor, Halley's Comet, which passes by our planet every 76 years. Last came by our planet in 1986. Blah blah blah. This comet was named after astronomer Edmund Halley, who correctly predicted its return in 1758, 16 years after his death. You think this passage gives direct and indirect details about Edmund Halley and Halley's Comet. You see the question and the answers. The question is what is stated in the lecture about Halley's Comet. So the answer is it came by in 1976. It is wrong because uh, you can hear from the recording audio that it is say that the planet has last came by our planet in 1986, not 1976. The second answer is it comes by once every 76 years. It is right because we can imply from what professors say that which passes by our planet every 76 years, uh, which means that the Halley comets is passing by our planet once every 76 years. And the third one, it did not appear between 1758 and 1986. It is wrong because from the recording audio we can hear that that stated that the Halley's comet is passing by our planet in 1986 and 1758. So it is right that they are appear at that time. It is not appear. It is so this answer is wrong. The last answer, it gave its name to an astronomer. It is right because the professor say that this comet was named after astronomer Edmund Halley. And so the answer is two, the second one and the fourth one. You can click two answers and the box answer.
So now we're in the last skills is skills 34 is visualize the passage. As you listen to each academic lecture in part B of the computer TOEFL test, you should try to visualize what you hear in the passage because visual questions about what is being described in the passage quite commonly accompany the academic lectures. There are two types of visual questions that may accompany an academic lecture. One type of visual questions shows you four drawings and asks you to click on the one drawing of the four that answer questions. The other type of visual question shows you one drawing with four letters on it and asks you to click on the one letter of the four that answer questions. Look at an example of a part of a lecture and a visual questions with 4 drawings. The example is, on a computer you hear, listen to a part of a lecture in a class on American culture. The lecture is on the history of the bicycle. The professor said in 1870, a new type of a bicycle came into fashion. This bicycle was called a high wheeler. It had 2 wheels and a huge front wheel, 5 feet in diameter, and a much smaller rear wheel, a foot and a half in diameter. You think this passage describes something that I should try to visualize. So you would see the questions like this with um, 4 options of picture. And the question is, which of the following bicycle is most likely a high wheeler? So in the lecture, we hear from the recording, from the audio and the lecture, the professor states that a high wheeler had 2 wheels and a huge front wheel and a much smaller rear wheel. And so the answer is A because the picture of options A has a bicycle with a large front wheel and a smaller rear wheel. So it's therefore the best answer to these questions.
So that's all from us for this video today. Thank you for watching. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.